Hey Flosstube, my name is Danielle and my pronouns are she, her, and this is my channel where I talk primarily about cross stitch. If you're new here, welcome, so glad to have you. And if you're returning, thank you so much. Appreciate you for sticking around. I know it's been 2 months since I filmed an update. Y'all, it's sometimes it's just too much. I had been wanting to film for a few weeks now, actually, and then it just seemed like the stars and planets would just not align for me to get it done. If I'm being truthful, I just want to sit and stitch. So I think moving forward, I'm gonna actually change to kind of more like a vloggy style Flosstube where I don't sit down in front of you and be so official about everything. I'm just gonna be like, here's my project I'm working on, and then like, it's been a few days, here's, you know, where I ended up. So I think that'll just be easier for me, because I do still really want to share things with y'all, but I just cannot bring myself to sit down and do all of this, which I know you can't see all of this, but it's very overwhelming. So I decided that today's episode is gonna be a whip parade. I felt like I had so much to show you anyway that I've stitched on in the past 2 months. I feel like it's probably at least 4 projects or so, plus some finishes that I was just like, plus, it's almost been a year since I started doing Flosstube videos, and I always had every intention of doing a whip parade at around that 1-year mark. So I knew that I was coming down on that soon. So I was just like, you know what? Let's do the whip parade and get everybody all caught up with where I am with all my projects. And then I can switch to the new format. So here we are today with a whip parade. Yay! I sat down before I sat down here to film this, and I actually watched my first whip parade and took a few notes about how many whips I had, and then figured out how many whips of those that I still have. So when I filmed my whip parade last year, I had 15 whips. I now have 17 whips. And 11 of those whips are carried over still from last year. Not as stellar as I had hoped for. That means I have 6 new whips that I have since started and not finished since last year, which that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like, that's more than I wanted, kind of, but I'm kind of more disappointed in the fact that I still have 11 projects from last year. 4, yes, no, yeah, I just did this. Hold please. I just had this information. Okay, so I had 15 whips, 11 are still whips. I finished 3 of them and I UFO'd 1 of them. And then, like I said, I have 6 whips that have been started since last year and not finished. So, what I want to do first is actually share a few things with you that I have finished since the last time I filmed, because you haven't seen them. So, the first thing that I want to share with y'all is, I'm very excited about this. I finally started my Stitchy journal. So this is a sort of like junk journal style book that I got as a collaboration between, I'm so sorry, I don't remember the journal maker's name, but this journal maker, I feel like it's Twisted Rabbit, something to that effect, is the journal maker that Michelle Bindi Stitchy gets her journals from. And they decided together one day to do a collaboration where the journal maker would make the journal and Michelle would design a pattern to go in front of the journal, and then they would sell it as a kit. And I was like so excited by this. I jumped on it, and then I've had this all for like a year. And I've been so intimidated to start this because journaling for me is a struggle. I really love the idea of like scrapbooking, junk journaling, but I don't have many skills in the, you know, left creative side of the brain. I tried to do a junk journal for a friend of mine a couple years ago, actually, oh gosh, close to 3 years ago now. And I hated every second of that experience because, and I've tried scrapbooking a little bit, and I don't have like a vision of seeing things laid out in a cute way. When I try to put stickers and embellishments on pages, it just doesn't look right to me. And I'm not sure if somebody else did the exact same thing that I did, you know, and I had no knowledge of it previously, if I would look at it and go, oh, that's beautiful. But when I do it, I don't like it. So part of what I had to decide when I decided to do this is that I would not try to be embellishing this. Because A, I don't enjoy that process, the embellishment process. And then B, I would just kind of hate it whenever I looked at it. And like, y'all are probably being like, you're being so critical, like but it is what it is. Like, first of all, I don't enjoy the process of actually doing the embellishing. And then second of all, I don't think that I would then personally look at this and go and feel like I was proud of it. Okay, sorry, had to sneeze. So I had to decide. I was like, I'm not gonna embellish this. This is just going to be the stitching. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna write about the stitching. But then I decided, and it's not in here yet, but then I decided I will not be handwriting in this journal because I already don't like my handwriting. And also my hand tends to get like ahead of my brain, or my brain gets ahead of my hand. Something happens and I end up making like a lot of mistakes when I handwrite. And so I knew that I didn't want to be scratching things out and writing over things, that would make me unhappy. So what I've done, hopefully like the next time I show this to you, it'll be done. I bought some really pretty printer paper, and I'm gonna be just typing out some things and printing it on the pretty paper. Kind of looks like watercolor. It's really pretty. And then cutting that out and gluing it in. But for now, I wanted to show you what I've put in here. Yeah, I'm just so happy with this. So my first page is blank because I'm actually going to, my first little tiny piece that I did, which is a little itty bitty tiny cupcake, was like one of those Learn Crafts from Dimensions or whatever. I'm gonna take it out of the little frame it's in, and I'm gonna put it on this first page and then make like a little, I do have some Stitchy stickers that I'm gonna put on the page, and then like a little like my Stitchy journal or whatever. And then on this page, I'm gonna type, again, I say write, but type like what got like my journey of beginning stitching. So that's why those are blank. So this was the first piece I put in, so a lot of these actually are gonna be some things that I did before I started Flosstube. So that's kind of another reason why I wanted to show y'all. So this is called When There Are 9. It was designed by Julie from Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World. She designs under the label Hemlock and Rye Stitchery. You can find her on Gumroad. And this is a piece she designed after the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And this was a quote when somebody had asked Ruth Bader Ginsburg how many women she thought would be enough for the Supreme Court. Like, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? She said, when there are 9. And so I stitched that in, like, you know, morning of her passing. Because y'all, looking backwards, right? We are in some trouble. So she stitched hers on black. I was so new, y'all, when I did this. I didn't have black. This was the darkest thing I could find at the craft store. It shows up okay here. It photographs really badly. The words are Blanc Etoile, and the collar is like DMC Diamant, which I did not do those stitches right at all. It took me 4 times to get it. They still weren't right, but I'm going with it. Okay. This is a little 2020 dumpster fire pattern. Got it off Etsy. No idea who, you know, Google. I stitched this actually in the last like 3 days of 2020 and got it in under the wire by New Year's Eve. Then, so there's a story here, y'all. This journal is kind of heavily political so far. Just a warning if you haven't already caught on that I've definitely done some political stitching. So this I stitched on January 5th, 2021, there was like it was like a special election or a runoff election or something for the Senate seats in Georgia. And I was like so hopeful that the Democrats would win. I was like, please, if the Democrats win those Senate seats, I will stitch a peach. And so when I was looking on Etsy for a pattern, I found this one that was very intentionally made to look like a butt. And then I added, so the pattern was called like Eat Me. And so I added Georgia Has Spoken because it was about, I don't know if it's flipped for y'all, but this is flipped for me. I hope it's not flipped for y'all. Wonder if I can change that in my editing. I don't know. Anyway, so I found a backstitch font and I added Georgia Has Spoken, Eat Me, Bleep McConnell, because he would no longer be the majority leader of the Senate. But, so I started that on the night of the 5th. Yeah. You know where this is going. Then January 6th happened. The insurrection at the Capitol. I was actually asleep when it happened. I frequently stay awake all night and sleep all day. So I didn't learn about this until after it was all over and the Senate or the House had reconvened to count the votes. So what I did, I really wanted to stitch something. I watched even though I really had no plans to watch the counting of the electoral votes, it's supposed to be a very boring thing. I then felt that became a very important thing to do. So I wanted to stitch something. I found this silhouette of the Capitol. It had a phrase in it that I didn't want to stitch. I just wanted the date. This was a bit of an experiment actually, because this is an 18 count Aida. So was that. That's the same Aida. This is a picture this plus 14 count. I'm terrible at giving fabric and floss information, y'all. So anyway, this was a bit of an experiment because I did 2 strands for the Capitol outline and I did 1 strand for the date because I was trying to decide if I even liked 18 count. The answer is I don't. I feel like I love the coverage of 2 strands, but I don't enjoy the process of working it with 2 strands because it's a struggle to get the needle through. And then I just don't like the coverage of 1 strand. So 18 count, 36, not my jam. But yeah, so this was a SAF. I stitched it that night while I watched the counting of the votes. Then I stitched on Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2021. I started this pattern, which is by Noah Stitches. He is also on Gumroad. I believe he used to be on Etsy, which is where I got this, but then I think he moved to Gumroad. So just says Biden Harris. I started it on Inauguration Day. Okay. So then this is my Be a Pineapple by Michelle Bendy Stitchy. This was the first thing that I stitched from her. My husband and I took a weekend away and I went to Acorns and Threads for the first time, which is my local needlework shop here in Portland, Oregon. And they're like 20 miles from me, so not super close. And I found they had a section of Michelle's patterns and I found that one and I thought it would be cute. And then I think we went to a craft store and I picked up that. This is just like an even weave from a tube from a craft store. It's a light blue, and this was like my first, like, I'm gonna practice on even weave. And I did a pretty good job, I think. There are no mistakes. I love it. The only thing that I didn't like about it was, okay, so I know that you can see the difference between that yellow and that yellow, but there's actually a third yellow in there, and while the skeins looked really different, they didn't look very different stitched. That was the only thing I didn't enjoy, but I love Michelle's patterns. This is Quirky Quaker Hedgehog by Darling and Whimsy Deanna. I own all the Quirky Quakers. I will always own all the Quirky Quakers. Someday I'll stitch them all. This was not the first one I did, but it's the first one I finished. I had started one on an even weave and I totally messed up my counting, and so I scrapped it because I was mad at it, didn't want to frog it to fix it. But so this is the first one that I completed. It is on a 32 count Jobelin from Bestitch Me. I think it was like called Cupid or something. It was one of the first pieces I got from Bestitch Me, and it's the first time I stitched on Jobelin. Jobelin's my favorite. This one is, and I cannot remember, like, one-off designers that I've only bought like one thing from. I can never remember their name. I know, I want to say this is like Witchy Garden something. I follow her on Instagram. Last year, but it's actually like close to the anniversary when I stitched this. Last year about this time, Texas passed a ban on abortion, that whole we're gonna sick bounty hunters after people who get abortions, and I was just like, I need to rage stitch something, and I love this Keep Your Laws Off My Body. I did it on a 14 count Picture This Plus. Yeah, I gave fabric information. I'm trying, y'all. Names of fabric though, especially Picture This Plus, I'm not good at remembering once the tag comes off. But yeah, she barely fit in here, y'all. I was proud of this one. But yeah, Keep Your Laws Off My Body. This is my little Thai bird, T-A-E bird, trial and error bird. Michelle Bendy Stitchy had given us this little bird as a Patreon chart, and she had wanted to stitch, she was trying to reproduce something in wool, and she tried to stitch the little bird in like a DMC wool, but it didn't go very well for her, and so then she ended up converting it to sulky. I decided I wanted to stitch it in wool. So I went and I bought some wool, 2 different brands, and I decided to try to stitch it, and it was definitely trial and error. One of the things being that, like, don't stitch with long strands with wool. I'm a long strand stitcher, and if I can get it close enough, you might be able to see. There are some sort of like fuzzy, not great stitches in the middle because the wool was like shredding on me. But I just wanted a cute little blue bird and in wool, and I did it. And then the last 2 pieces in here for now. This is called The Fox and the Crow. It is by, oh wait, Fabric. That is a 32 count Lugana from Live and Die LA. And I don't remember what it's called. I think it might be like Grog or something like that. So this is The Fox and the Crow by Wild Violet Cross Stitch Designs. and I stitched it on a purple from Live and Die LA. It's a 16 count Aida. I stitched it with some silk. There's like a dinky dye, there's a silk, like thread and gather, silk and gather or something. The black is like a color and cotton variegated. The flowers are a fibrolicious silk. But it was just so cute. I had to stitch it, and it's opalescent, and oh, I love it so much. And then my last piece in here is, again, it's a Quirky Quaker by Darling and Whimsy Design. She had made a little pride pattern that has a bunch of different flags in it. And I came to the realization over this last Pride season, from a lot of the education from Dee's 20 Stitches, from other members of the Instagram community who are participating in Stitch for Pride, that I am asexual. And so as soon as I had the realization, I wanted to stitch the little asexual flag Quirky Quaker. So that's my journal so far. And like I said, I'm gonna print things and add to this. And I'm gonna make my little cover page. So, and then I'm hoping maybe during this season of small to stitch up the cover. We'll see. 22 minutes. I'm never gonna get a video under an hour, am I? So yeah, but then, you know, here's the pattern, the fabric it goes on, the flosses. Yeah, I'm super excited to do that. So those are fully finished items. And then I've had 2 finishes since I last filmed. So let me show you what I've finished. I'm so happy with this finish. This was one of my oldest whips. It was my oldest non-Haid whip, and it was absolutely ridiculous that I had not finished this. Oh, fabric from the Quirky Quaker was a 32 count Lugana hand dyed by Jessie from Mislaid Pages. And I used like a Threadworks for the border, and I used a couple Stitchy box silks in the flag. Anyway, so this was my oldest non-Haid whip. It was absolutely ridiculous that I hadn't finished it. I started this in February of 2021 for Februaviary, which is a sort of hashtag event that Mislaid Pages hosts every year, in which we stitch burbs. And I was like all excited to start this. I was like, yay, I'm gonna do Februaviary. I worked on it for 1 day, y'all, and then got distracted and put it down, and it took me a year. It took me like 15 months to get back to it. But this is called Beach Dance from Lindy Stitches. It was ironed, and then it's been in a bag. So Beach Dance from Lindy Stitches. I stitched it in the called for, except for there is a border that goes around this. The border is like a teal color and then a black and white check. I decided that since I might frame it or do some kind of like wall hanging with it, that I didn't really want to contend with a border, because then that makes everything look not straight, or it exasperates your your not straightness of your piece. But and it's on a 14 count Picture This Plus. Again, don't ask me for names, I don't know. The tag comes off it and I don't know anymore. But yeah, so it's so cute. And when I was first stitching it, I started with the tummies. Big mistake, because that is some boring stitching, y'all. And the tummies were not showing up well on this fabric, but I had a feeling that once I added the other colors, it would be fine. And I was right, it's absolutely fine with the other colors in it. They're so cute. I do think I'm gonna put it in a frame, because I have 2 other bird pieces framed, and so I kind of want to like make a little bird wall. So yeah, so I finished that. It was absolutely absurd that I had not already finished that piece. And then the next thing that I finished is, I showed this the last time I filmed. It's not fully finished yet. It should be by the next time that I put a video together, hopefully. But this is called Soul Sisters by Teresa Kogut. And I saw this, she released this like at Expo 21, maybe. And I have a good stitchy friend and I was like, we need to stitch this for each other and just do it as like a complete, not do the called for at all, as Imogen X Stitch would say, uncalled for floss, and make it our own and then send it to each other. So get ready. If you saw my last video, you know where this is going. It is bright and bold, y'all. Here it is. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it. Okay, so the fabric, before I forget, is a 14 count hand dyed by Jessie from Miss Slate Pages. I don't think it had an official colorway or anything. Sorry for that squealing noise, that's my dishwasher. Anyway, but yeah, so I picked, all my flosses were either Fiberlicious or Forbidden Fiber Co., except for one floss that was like a classic Color Works, I think. And I picked a lot of these colors because my friend is super into like mid-century vibe, mid-century modern vibe. And she has like so many things that are like pink and orange for sure. And then I love how chocolate brown goes with pink and vibrant orange. And then also it's like the same color as the fabric, you can't even tell, but the little dots inside are like a lime green. And then I picked colors down here that were a little bit more my vibe. The blue, the purple, mint green. And then the flowers I just did as a pretty pinks. And then the only thing called for is actually the hair. Oh yeah, look how kind I was to myself. Look at that margin, y'all. So the only thing called for is actually the hair. I kind of liked how the hair was done. I didn't feel confident in changing it because it was like 3 shades. And then the skin tone I did change. I didn't like the called for the skin tone. It was very mauve-ish, kind of had like a purplish vibe to undertone to it. So I just Googled DMC skin tone and I pulled a few out of my stash and picked the one I liked best. But yeah, so I'm gonna fully finish this as a wall hanging. And this is the fabric that I'm gonna use. Look at it. I bought this off Etsy, and actually what I might do, so there's a lot of it, right? So what I think I might do, I have a friend who sews. So what I think I want to do, I'm gonna cut what I need for the wall hanging, yeah? And then I might see if my friend could either make a pillow or, yeah, I'm thinking like a pillow, but I don't know if I have enough for a pillow. And then maybe she could make me something, like a project bag, or even if it was just a notions bag, I'd be okay with that. She's made me a project bag before. If I remember, I'll show it to you when I get to it. But then I just think it would be cool if my friend and I each had oh, she could make her a little bag. She might use a pillow more though than a bag, especially if she gets out. She's kind of not been into the cross stitching as much lately. So it would be nice if I could get my wall hanging out of here, a pillow for her, and a little notions bag for me, because I really love this fabric. So I would love to keep some of this for myself. But yeah, she's a lovely friend, lives in California, so I would ship it to her and she'll ship it back, and I pay for the shipping and I pay for her materials and stuff, and she gives me the friendly friends and family discount. Yeah, so those are my finishes. 30 minutes in, and now we're gonna start on the whips. Good thing I only have 17, right? So I want to start with whips that were in my whip parade last year, and then move on to whips you haven't seen. So I have zero organization going on in my life right now. And just like trying to organize this before I started was like, no, it's not gonna happen. So we're just gonna do what we can do, and they're not in any kind of order. I'm also gonna be showing, I've realized that one of the things that I hate about, or that like prevents me from doing Flosstube, is I don't like the editing process. So when possible, I'm just gonna show you pictures on my tablet. And if I don't have, like if I can't access it on my tablet, then no picture. But my first one, this is actually my oldest whip. It is my Heaven and Earth design called Breath of Power, by artwork by Jody Bergsma. It's gonna look real impressive, y'all. Here's where we are. I've added a couple thousand stitches since I showed it last year. This is a difficult stitch for me, but I did realize last time I worked on it that it's getting easier. Like I can do more at a time. When I first started stitching this height, I could do like one strand, and which would be close to like 100 stitches or so, 75 to 100 stitches, and then I would just be like mentally spent on it. But one of the last times I worked on it, I did like 800 stitches in one setting. So it's like as I get more experience, especially more experience on the even weave, it gets easier. This is of course a 25 count, easy grid, easy guide, Lugana. I'm stitching at 2/1 half stitch. Yep. Okay. Back in the bag it goes. Sorry, if I don't put things back in the bag, this is gonna be bad. I'll show you the bags. Don't ask me where I got the bags. I am not that person that remembers where I get needle minders and bags and stuff, but it's cute. Some of my bags are themed, some are not. Okay, another one you saw during my whip parade. This is Nora Corbett's Foxglove. This was one of my birthday starts for me last year. I'm stitching it on a 32 count antique white Lugana, which was what was, or I mean, sorry, Jobelin, which is what was called for. Yeah, I don't have a picture. Let me see if I can Google. I don't know though, if I do that, we're gonna be here all day, aren't we? Nora Corbett. Fox glove. What I should probably do is like make take pictures or screenshots before I, you know, start to film, and then that way I have, yep, there we go. So here's what the finished project looks like. I really love this. It's my first like quote unquote fancy lady or fancy folk. Yeah. I've just been like trying to like fill in as much as I can before I have to move the scroll frame up. I think I've worked on that one time since my birthday. When you saw it, it just had, all my birthday starts were like one night's worth of stitches. Okay. This is another birthday start. I know I have a picture of this in my pattern keeper because it has a PDF, y'all. So, view PDF. This is called Always Flowers Sampler by Lana Lenskaya, like a Ukrainian designer. It was the first sampler that I was really drawn to after I started stitching. I am not as excited about it now in my stitching life as I was then. So this is definitely like a consideration for UFO. I haven't stitched on it since I started it. And that's all I got when I started it, was like 70 or 80 border stitches. So, and I think this is a Bestitch Me Lugana. Yep. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it. Yeah, I'm just not as excited about it as I was when I first, and like, you know, it happens, right? Like we think we know what we like. Oh, but we don't know necessarily till we really kind of get going. Why is this so thick right now? I don't know. Speaking of the bag that my friend made me, so it's not like lined or anything, so it's floppy, but this is the bag she made me with some foxglove fabric that I had found. And she had this pink polka dot in her stash, and it just houses my foxglove project floss and beads since I have it on a scroll frame. Yeah. I gotta ask her about lining them. It wasn't really something I thought about talking with her about. But I wish that it was lined. Here is another one that I started for my birthday last year. The Nutcracker by RATM. And when you saw it last, all I had done was like the outline of that bubble. Well, not even the whole bubble, just the outline. But now I've almost filled the Q-snap. So yeah, I have the bubble, which I had to, oh, the dog hair, y'all, is real. One thing I didn't like was that there wasn't like an alphabet provided, so I had to go search for my own letter that would fit there. This flower motif is done. Most of this blue is done, but it goes down below my Q-snap. That motif is done, and then I started on that bauble. And the only thing else I can fit in here besides finishing that bauble is I could start the ballerina. Yeah. Sometimes I can get stuff into my bags, but I can't then zip them. So much fun. Oh, and then speaking of bags, this is the super appropriate bag. My friend sent that to me. Okay, next. Since we're going with birthday starts, let's finish the birthday starts. This is one that I also have not touched since my birthday. Although I want to, this might be, if I don't do some smalls for Season of Smalls, this is gonna be the next thing that I work on, because I'm feeling it. This is Caroline Manning Peacock Topaz. And I just love the idea of the geometric shapes, just super easy, soothing stitching. Yeah, haven't touched it in a year. Well, actually not quite a year. I mean, technically, it's only been 11 months. So, I mean, I guess it would be maybe nice to like put in the 4 or 5 projects that I have that I haven't touched since last year. It'd be nice to touch them again, just so that I could say everything got touched, you know, between then and now. And this was my last birthday start, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, yep. I had 5 birthday starts. And this was my last birthday start. And this is, should there be a needle on there? Maybe. This is called Drama Llama Sampler by Michelle Bendy Stitchy. When y'all saw it for my birthday, I just had like 4 or 5 of these little border things done. I've picked it up like twice since then, and I'm like 70% done. So I'm hoping that the next time I pick this up, this is a finish. I'm stitching this on a, oh geez. Nutcracker was on a Picture This Plus, can't remember the name. Caroline Manning is just on an antique white Lugana, or Joblin maybe. This is on a 32 count Lugana from Fiberlicious. It was a fabric of the month last year called Chairific, and I absolutely love it. And then my flosses are, the green is a Fiberlicious called Moana, and the purple is an unnamed color from Dying for Cross Stitch. Yeah, I love it. I really love it. I love the colors in this. I'm so happy that I chose what I chose, and that, yeah, like I just love how loud it is. Makes me really happy. Lesson learned though about definitely, especially hand-dyed variegated flosses, buy all your skeins at the same time. I had started with the one skein I had and then bought additional, and by the time it was time to switch, the new stuff was super different. It's fine. I saved a little bit to finish the border on the other side so that I didn't like sharply transition to a different floss. What sucks though about it is I like the newer dye better than the older dye. So, you know, it is what it is. Here's another one that you saw in my last whip parade, although it's another one I haven't touched. So this is a whip that I bought from Michelle Bendy Stitchy. It is called Needle in Hand. It's by Hello from Liz Matthews. It was the Acorns and Threads had a 25th anniversary, and they did like a gathering for that. And this was the exclusive pattern, but you can get it now. And I bought this as a whip from Michelle last year during the hashtag marathon for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirits. And bought this as a whip. She auctioned it off, and I haven't put any stitches into it. This is where it is. This is all Michelle's work. So yeah, it is our whip, as Michelle likes to say about whips that she passes on to other people. Yeah, definitely want to do this one. It's I think, I don't know. Part of the problem is I hate paper patterns, so I need to get this scanned and into, she sent a card with it. Wake up and be awesome. I think there was a note on there about like one of the houses is off a little bit or something. Next. Okay. This is one that I've made a pretty good amount of progress on since you saw it. When you saw it, all I had was like 40 stitches in on it. And the last time I picked it up, I actually scrapped that and restarted it on a new fabric. So this is my Killer Whale project. Sorry, that was loud. Killer Whale project by the Stitching Studio, original art by Sue Coleman. I am making some heavy modifications though. I'm not stitching the Native American whale. And then you see this light, super light wave over here. I'm not stitching that. I'm gonna just take it up to the dark line, and then actually also not stitching those waves and not stitching a couple of these just to bring the line down a little bit, because I feel like if it doesn't have this, then it shouldn't be so high. So I think I'm taking those lines out. Yeah. But I've made some good progress on this. And that's all. I just did that in one, I think, maybe two sessions of stitching. Not 2 sessions, but like for me, a session of stitching is like I pick it up and I work on it until I don't want to work on it anymore, and then I put it down. That might be 3 days, that might be 10 days. Usually it's in the 5 to 7 day vicinity. When I start feeling like I don't want to stitch, that's my cue that I know it's time to switch projects. I used to think that I just wasn't in the mood to stitch, and then I realized, no, I'm just not in the mood to stitch that project. Okay, moving right along. As soon as I get this pattern back in the bag. Oh, fabric, y'all. I tell you, I am not a professional floss tuber, let me tell you. This fabric is a color and cotton 32 count Lugana. It is a little tight, I gotta say. So I think in the future, if I buy color and cotton, I think it's called Whimsy. But I just like that it's kind of blue, it's kind of skyish. There are some very, very slight purple splotches, purpley pink splotches that don't really show up on camera. I kind of looked that it looked kind of otherworldish a little bit, which is why I really liked that other fabric that I'd been trying to stitch on, but it was just too awful to stitch on. I knew I couldn't commit to this many stitches on that fabric. Okay. No. Okay. This is Trans Pride Tapestry by D's 20 Stitches. Cute bag. D's 20 Stitches and Uncanny Kari is who the artwork is by. This is also a restart. When you had seen it, it was on a different fabric. This is a Fantasy Dyed Fabrics 28 count Jobelin unnamed, but it is like the perfect, you can see it, right? The pink and the blue modeling. These are the perfect trans colors. And I am further, when I was on the other fabric, I was only about 4% done, 3 to 4% done, and now I'm close to 10% done. She, I believe, is barely gonna fit on this fabric because she a big girl. But yeah. And again, I hated, the other one was an 18 count Ada. I hate 18 count. It's awful to try to stitch on for me personally. I don't like the coverage of one strand. I hate stitching with 2. But yeah, so that's where my Trans Pride Tapestry is. Of course, I bought the Lesbian Pride Tapestry. I'm gonna try to not start her until Trans Pride is done. I do try to give myself like a 1 in, 1 out policy. So like with this Trans Pride, I don't want to really start the other until that's done. Oh, we're moving along here. This bag is super cute. My husband got it for me. This is my Christmas deer project. It doesn't really have like a name because it's from like one of those Russian designers. Pretty sure it's not stolen artwork though, because I've seen it on a couple. There's a site called My Bobbin that is like a reputable company. They're like the Russian version of 123 Stitch, and I've seen it on there. But I think he bought this from like a seller based in the United States, but who orders like wholesale or whatever from there. But yeah, so I just call it Christmas deer. I love it, it's beautiful, but it's a paper pattern. I have it in Pattern Keeper horribly, so it's not super fun to stitch. And of course it's just complicated because of the blends, and there's half stitches, and there's gonna be insane, there's gonna be wild, absurd backstitch. But I love it, and I hope to have it finished someday. That's where I am, working in the center on its face. This is a picture this plus fog, I think. That's actually the 18 count white Aida that I did a couple of those projects on. That's what was the kit fabric, and I couldn't iron out the wrinkles or the fold lines. So I just decided, plus it didn't give me very good margins, so I just decided to buy a different piece of fabric. Plus I don't like stiff Aida, so yeah. My first real big project that I did was on Picture This Plus. So I got spoiled by, okay, and you know what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're just down to projects that you haven't seen, but technically, so those are all the ones, whoop, those are, okay, clearly something's missing from here. Well, maybe not, they're scissors. Those are all the ones that I had started when I had filmed my very first whip parade last year. But this was sort of an honorable mention because I was planning to start this. This is Glendon Place's Sleepy Hollow, but I hadn't actually started it yet. I am making some heavy modifications to it. I am not going to stitch the border around the horse. I'm going to stitch the horse separate from the quote. The border is going to go around the quote, and they're going to be on 2 different pieces of fabric. And then when I frame it, the horse will be by itself, you know, no border. And then there will be some mat. It'll be like a double mat situation. And then this part will be in the below it or next to it or something. I started this in October of last year, and all I have done is basically the top row of the border. I also changed out the pumpkins to skulls because I didn't like that there were 2 pumpkins in a row. It made sense if you were going to do the whole border, but it didn't make sense to me with only doing this border. Stitching with all the called for, including this is Picture This Plus Haunted, but is it 14 count? I think it's 14 count. And then I have the other, I have the other piece tucked away. Yeah, 14 count Haunted by Picture This Plus. This was actually the first time that I attempted floss away bags on a ring. Hate it. But there are a lot of colors. But I do not enjoy them being on a ring. I guess just because I don't really have a place to put the ring that's super accessible to me while I stitch. I just kind of prefer having all the baggies in the project bag, but putting them on a ring, it makes it so fat. Like, you can see how like much bulk that's adding to my bag. So I don't enjoy that. So I'm gonna kind of redo my system the next time I get this out. I should stitch on this in October. In fact, it would be nice in October if I could get good progress on this, because honestly that quote is not that much work. And then I have the next project I show you will be another good October. I have a very precarious pile going on here. It would be nice if in October I could focus on those 2 projects to get that one and then the one I'm about to show you, just because they're very October themed. And haven't been touched since October. So here are the whips. Oh wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I I know I think I counted this as a new whip. So we're going backwards here for a second. Because I was gonna say now we're gonna see the ones that you didn't see, but this is another one that you saw in that whip parade. This is my Forbidden Fiber Co. The Raining Loreleis, which is a Gilmore Girls inspired pattern. Sorry it's in the Q-snap, y'all, but I do have, this side just says Stars Hollow, founded 1779. This side says Oi with the Poodles already. There are 2 snowflakes down here that mirror these. And then I'm working, this is my current whip actually. I'm working on this umbrella. And then there's another medallion down here that has a dragonfly. And then after that, there's like 2 bands of stitches that go, well, 4 bands, excuse me. A decorative band that kind of connects all the medallions. So I have about 1,700 stitches left or 1,600 stitches left. I would like to see this to a finish, but I don't know. I'm for sure getting the umbrella done. And then I can't, with where it is in the Q-snap right now, I can't actually complete a band of stitches because they go to like right here. They go from like here up to there. So I can't actually complete a band. So I have to move the Q-snap. So I will either move the Q-snap to do both the bands up here, or I'll move the Q-snap to do the bottom medallion. But yeah, so this is my current whip. We'll see if I can see it through to a finish. Yay. Trying to get my screen grab if you couldn't tell. Okay, I love this bag. I bought this bag just for this project because of the dragonflies, and dragonflies on that Q-snap too, or Q-snap garden card too. Okay. Now, for real, we're at the ones you haven't seen. Like I said, the Sleepy Hollow one by Glendon Place was kind of an honorable mention because I said I was going to start it, but you hadn't actually seen it as a whip. This I started in October of last year. This is Modern Folk Embroidery Spirits of the Dead. I did a good amount. It was a couple thousand stitches. This is the inverted for dark fabric. This is a Steel City Stitchers. If it wasn't obvious, the Forbidden Fiber Co. Raining Loreleis is on the Forbidden Fiber Co. fabric because it was a kit. This is a Steel City Stitchers fabric that I got in a box. I don't think it had a name, but it's like a gray opalescent. I don't know how much the opalescent is coming through. There it is. And I'm using ecru. I was gonna do a fancy floss, but then I was like, that's a lot of fancy floss because there's like 10,000 stitches in this thing. So yeah, next time I work on it, I'm gonna move the Q-snap and work on the skull in the center. So yeah, like I said, it would be nice to work on Sleepy Hollow and Spirits of the Dead in October to get them some love, you know, not let them go a year, you know, without being touched. Okay, we're gonna start piling over here now. Now that I've taken almost everything out of that area. This is hardly worth showing. It is hardly worth counting as a whip, but I have this little like embroidery kit that I had bought off of Etsy. And it's a Lucky Cat. And the point of it is just you do some basic stitches over the outlines. All I've done, which you can't even see, is there's some, what stitch is this? Is this a stem stitch? Hold on, hold please. I think it's a stem. Yeah, it's a stem stitch or split stitch. Yeah. So that's all I've done. I started at the middle of the head, came around this ear, and down. And actually, Dr. Christie of Christie's Corner Needlework, or Christie's Needlework Corner, I get her name confused. She's been doing an embroidery tutorial with these very basic stitches, you know, back stitch, running stitch, stem split stitch, satin stitch, lazy daisies, chain stitch. So I'm gonna probably watching those has been making me kind of want to work on this. But it's just so cute and I love it. It's super cute. I started it, I've only worked on it one time. I started it because like I just wasn't feeling anything that I had going on. And then I wasn't really feeling this either, so I put it away. Yeah, like I said, it's hardly worth calling it anything, yeah. But it's on my wheel of whips, so you know. Yeah, it came with the floss. It's by, who are the peoples? Who are the peoples? Kindred Spirit Art Studio. Found them on Etsy. I think somebody that I follow showed they bought something and it wasn't what they thought it was or wanted it to be. But I was like, oh, I want to learn. So I bought that. Next, there is no excuse for this not to be done, y'all. But I just burned out on it after I started it and I haven't come back to it yet. But here we go getting political again. The day that the Dobbs decision came down from the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade, I started this stitch. This is part of a bigger project. I just don't currently have the capacity to start that project. But back in like May, April, the Notorious Needle put out a pro-choice stitch along. And so the whole thing is epic and beautiful and it's all done and released. And I just wanted to, the last part had two choices. What was the two? I think one choice was to stitch hands off row, or the other choice was to stitch codify row now. And I was kind of feeling like, well, I mean, it's kind of too late about the hands off row because they did it, they did the thing, they overturned it. But, you know, we can codify row into, you know, federal legislation. So I decided that I really wanted to stitch the codify row now. In the original piece, it is long. I stacked it. And then I'm also stitching on either side, so it's going to be a triptych. One quote, which you won't be able to see because it's under the Q-snap, says, "I will not go quietly back to 1950." And the other quote says, "Don't like abortion, don't have one." And I have stitched the codify row now, which is what I started with. I stitched the "I will not go quietly back to 1950." And then this side is where it's gonna say, "Don't like abortion, don't have one." And then I did, this was a border, one of the borders already in the pattern. So I just grabbed that to separate them. And then I don't know if I will do a border around the whole thing. I'm feeling like maybe just keep it simple. We'll see. But yeah, I needed to stitch something and I wanted to just start and finish this, but I burned out on it, so I wasn't able to stitch the other side. So this will be a finish when I go back to it. I don't even have a project bag for that. That's how much I intended to just start and finish it. So if you remember from earlier, the very sad Heaven and Earth design that doesn't have a lot of stitches on it, you know, one would think that like if you already have a heaven and earth design that you hardly ever work on, that maybe you shouldn't purchase and start another one. But that's what I did. I don't know what possessed me, but I was on the site and I saw this pattern. I've seen it before. It was in my wish list. And all of a sudden, I just had to start it. Just had to. Like, immense need to start the thing. So I bought the pattern. I obviously didn't have any fabric, you know, because one does not tend to keep massive like half yards of easy grid fabric on hand for all the heids that I don't do. So I bought the fabric, and then I did not buy any of the floss. I am in fact gonna just stitch this from my stash because it seems really silly to have 90 to 100 colors just sitting in a bag for something that I work on like twice a year, right? So stitching from stash, but literally the day that the fabric came, I threw it on a Q-snap and started it immediately. This is how far I got. Oh, I need to show you the pattern. It is called Arctic Dreams. Again, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. Artwork, view PDF. View PDF, thank you. Artwork is by John Enright. Oh, it's just so pretty. There it is. So yeah, if you're counting at home, that's 3 orca patterns. But yeah, this was all just one color, 820 or 823, can't remember. I did like, how many does Pattern Keeper say I did? I think 555 stitches. Yeah. So that was my start. Like I said, it was a need. I cannot explain the need, but it was a need. And then the last thing, the last whip that y'all have not seen, and actually I haven't seen that one or this one or the Codify row. See, that was part of why I was just like, you know what, Danielle, just do a floss or just do a whip parade. There was like several projects you hadn't even seen that I've started, and the finishes. I was just like, just do a whip parade, get everybody caught up. And then, like I said, going forward, I'm just gonna kind of prescribe to a vloggy, like, I'm picking up this project, and then when I decide to put it down, I'll just film the update and I'll string them all together after maybe just a couple weeks. We'll see. Maybe I can do that more often. There won't be editing. So yeah, maybe I can do it more frequently. We'll see. So this is called, oh, I have the pattern. Why am I? This is called Moon Glow. It is by Nora Corbett. I am doing this as a stitch along with Allie from Misfit Stitches. She nicknamed it the Embrace the Fold Sal. And you know, I had seen this pattern before she showed it, and I just wasn't that drawn to it. And then something about how she talked about it really inspired me. And really made me want to stitch it. So yeah. And of course, I have this huge fabric stash, right? I go dig through my fabric stash to find the perfect fabric. Can't find the perfect fabric. Had to order fabric. This is a 16 count. I always get it wrong. It's either Deep Reflection or Dark Reflection by Mystic Fabric. Oh, Codify Row now was also on a Mystic Fabric, but I think that was from like a grab bag. So I don't know the name. Yeah, Deep or Dark Reflection. I am doing the Called For Floss, which is a lot of like Karen Water Lily silk, which is really nice to stitch with. Yeah, I've done come up, well, I started here, came down as far as my Q-snap would allow me to, worked my way over to the moon. These stars kill me, absolutely kill me. And then because I couldn't handle doing stars anymore, I started on her hair. Yeah, so that's the last whip you hadn't seen. Not bad, not bad. So like I said, I now have 17 whips. 11 of which are from last year. I guess 12 if you count. I don't know how to count that Sleepy Hollow one because it's like I showed it, but it wasn't a whip yet. So I guess 11 from last year, 6 that are new that I've started that I haven't finished. So yeah, that's it. That's everything. I still have plans, like I talked about last year, to get down to fewer whips. My whips frequently overwhelm me, but as you can see, a lot of them are big, or medium to big, and I just don't. If I had it to do over, there are definitely some whips that I like wouldn't have undertaken just because I don't tend to enjoy projects of a certain size. I really enjoy small things. So I think my plan is right now, I'm gonna continue to stitch on the Gilmore Girls project until I don't want to stitch on it anymore. And then I do kind of think I'd like to do some smalls for Season of Smalls and then work on the projects that haven't gotten any attention, which I think is just 4 in the last year. So that's Sleepy Hollow, Spirits of the Dead, Caroline Manning, that's 5. Caroline Manning Peacock Topaz, the Acorns anniversary piece that I bought from Michelle. What was the last one, y'all? You're screaming it at me probably. Oh, the Always Flowers sampler. Guess that might be a good to decide if I want to continue, you know, on it or not. It pains me. It really pains me to UFO things. So I would like to work on those because, like I said, it's kind of a tragedy that something goes a year without getting any attention. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, all those good things. And yeah, I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.